direct from Israel. Guy's a good friend. I met him at Wingate Institute, training many years ago. And well, Guy, why don't you give a little bit of your background?
Okay, hi everyone. Good afternoon to you all. And you're probably sitting at home just wondering what you can do with yourself because you can't go out. So you prefer to listen to me. I don't think you're in a good position, but this is what we have. So my name, as said, is Guy Mor. I hold a PhD degree in physical education. For about a decade, I was the head of the martial arts discipline at Wingate Institute, which is Israel National Sports Institution. And for the last 2 years, I am the general director of the Israeli College of Sports. Before that, I have lots of experience as a martial artist. I started at age 10 with Judo. Then moved to karate, Thai boxing, kickboxing, pankration, if you heard it. Some of you probably did. And during these times, also I did some KM training as part of the qualifications which I have passed. That's it, generally.
Generally?
Yeah, generally. We won't go too specific unless you ask me. So,
if you have specific questions, write them in, people. So, Guy, I've been talking to a lot of people about your academic article in the history, and I want to ask you about it, the research you did for it, and also we've had this talk before about history, where history changes from person to person. I really liked talking to you about history because everything that you had was documented. So I'll let you talk about the article and the research.
Okay, so first I want to say thank you to Mr. Moti Nativ, because we all the time we had this notion that Krav-Maga was invented by Imi, and this is what we were all brought up on. This is what we knew. And then one day Moti Nativ came to me and he says, look, Guy, you'd better check the history before you're saying something which is not accurate. So I just decided to check it, and I started research which took me 3 years. I went to the Israel Defense Force archives, the Haganah archives, and other, also Wingate Institute archive, and I started to check for solid information concerning Israeli combat disciplines. Now, what I found out, and everything is documented, and we prefer in science to rely on documentation rather than, let's say, folk tales or storytelling or, things that pass from one instructor to the other, but are not always so accurate because people have their own, agenda. So what I've discovered is that the first evidence for Israeli combat discipline is documented in 1891. And there were 2 guys, Jewish guys, who were ex-soldiers in the Russian army, and they immigrated to Israel. They were located in a country which is like a village which was called Rehovot. Joe, if you're there, you wanted to hear my Hebrew accent, so here it is, Rehovot, okay? And the Krav-Maga, and you'll get the Hebrew accent, okay? Don't worry about it. So these guys in Rehovot had the problem with a nearby Arab village, and the Arabs used to go there and just beat them and rob them and whatever. So these 2 guys started to train the Jewish residents self-defense training using long sticks. And the documentation says that they trained every night after dinner for about a year. And then after 1 year, the Arabs attacked again, and this time the Jewish citizens overcome them. And this is actually the first evidence, documented evidence, for some kind of formal self-defense training in Israel using long sticks. And this is actually the beginning. Ernie, shoot.
Yes. One of the best things I got was Idan when he said, I asked him, because I personally, I've heard about 12 different origin stories with Krav-Maga.
Okay.
Every instructor I talked to, they were the number one student of Imi's.
Yeah, all of them.
Was number one.
Yeah.
And Idan, I asked him this question after one of his lectures. And I said, who's lying? Who's telling the truth? And he said, they're all lying and they're all telling the truth.
Yeah.
And he's like, how many years have you been teaching martial arts? And I'm like, wow, since the 80s. He's like, how many number one students have you had in all that time? Could any one of them say they were your top student at one point? Yes. Are you teaching the same stuff that you were teaching then? No, not even close. So he's like, there you go. It was a very Israeli shrug, like, nah.
Yeah.
But it was great because Moti and you would really break down the history and provide documents and talk about different people. And it was eye-opening, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just go on because following these two guys, the Jewish population in Israel had lots of problems. Israel was then governed by the British. And there was lots of tension between Arab citizens and Jewish citizens because both of them wanted to have the land for their own. So this brought to a lot of tension and a lot of quarrels and fighting. And Israeli organizations were looking for some kind of self-defense method which will be practical.
Well,
so they tried. Yes, go ahead.
You were saying they both wanted the land. They were both promised the land.
They both were here. Like there were always here Arab residents and Jewish residents. And I don't want to go into politics, but I think they have here the same right as us. Probably someone will kill me for that. Okay, so
no, but like the white paper, they were both promised. They were both promised the land.
Yeah, they were both. This is like the Sykes-Picot, I think, agreement between the French and the British.
Yes,
and all of them promised the country for the Jews and for the Arabs. So everyone felt that he has right on this land. And this, of course, like the British were very happy if we'll just kill each other. At that point, also the French. But we don't want to go there, I think, right now. Everybody's at home and we'll leave it outside. So the thing is that the Israeli population was looking for some kind of self-defense method which can help them because you were not allowed to use guns or rifles because of the British government, even though some people had them. But mostly it was like sticks and swords and knives and stones. These were the weapons that were used at that time. So the Haganah, which was like a paramilitary organization, was looking for some kind of method. And they tried a lot of things, and there's lots of documentation. They tried jiu-jitsu, and it didn't work, and some boxing and wrestling. But in real fighting, these maneuvers didn't work. And this is the part when Moshe Feldenkrais is entering the story. I want to make a short detour because Feldenkrais was born in Belarus. When he was a young boy, he went with his father and other 4 people in a coach, and they were attacked by robbers. 2 of the passengers were killed, and Feldenkrais' father killed the robbers. So he actually evidenced it as a small boy, how his father fighting the robbers and overcoming them. And then he evidenced lots of anti-Semite events. This is the right phrase, anti-Semite? Yeah? Against Jews. And he was very frustrated about it. And at age 14, he decided to immigrate to Israel by his own. So imagine yourself, a 14-year-old boy, decided to go to Israel and doing all the way by himself. And then he arrived here. Started working and studying and everything, and he learned some stuff, jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and he saw that it doesn't work. So what he did, he took some guys and he started to attack them with knives. And he wanted to check what was their reaction, and he photographed it. And then he discovered something that he called unconscious reaction. He said that people, and again, we're talking about Jewish people in the 1920s in Palestine, had the same motor reaction when they were being stabbed. I don't think you can take this reaction and transform it like to China or Japan or South America, because we cannot be sure that the same reaction will be there. Okay, this is, if someone wants to make an academic research, this is a good point to go. So what he did, he found out there's unconscious reaction, and he designed follow-up drills, techniques on this unconscious reaction. He trained guys for 3 months, stopped training them, and checked their response after 1 year of not training. And he discovered that the response was still there. This is the point that the Haganah gave him a 3 years budget to train all the Haganah members this method which he developed. And this is actually the beginning of what we know today as Krav-Maga.
Yeah, Moshe is a very interesting character. His books, judo training, his self-defense books are even today, they're good reads. Very his writings on judo are very interesting. You could see some of the philosophy from Krav-Maga from even him doing judo. Anything else that you want to say about the history or research?
Yeah, like I think, first of all, if people want to check, there's a book in the web which is called Hadaka Jime, as the Japanese, judo technique. This was written by Moshe Feldenkrais, and you can find it on the web. And actually, Moshe, in his book, Jiu-Jitsu and Self-Defense, you can find this book in Wingate Library. It was published in 1930. Now, when you search it and you looked at it, you can see the basic elements of Krav-Maga. Because Feldenkrais is talking about awareness to your surroundings and how do you use things that you have around you as weapons. And how do you use your teeth, and how do you scratch, and if you have a pen, if you're in the house, and how you use it. So this is a very important aspect, I think. And you can see in his techniques that he's doing like punch and block together, defense and attack together. And you can see actually the basics. What people are calling today like reflexive reaction or these terms, actually Feldenkrais called it unconscious reaction. And this is, I think, like one of the basic principles of Krav-Maga.
Yeah. If anyone's interested, this is a copy of Guy's paper. I don't know if you can see it.
It's on our website.
It's on our website. If you want to read it, we'll post it. It was published through the National Journal of the History of Sport, correct?
Yeah.
It's a great article.
There's another one. Yeah, there's another article which is like open access. So I will send it to you later if people will want. You can put it on your website or Facebook and they can download it from there.
I think I'm getting a lot of comments about how awesome this interview is. I'm not even saying anything. I'm just letting you talk.
Okay.
Guy's also written a book. People have been asking me about this. Are you going to be offering this on Amazon or anything else?
Yeah, we're trying to change it into digital book, and we're still in the process. If anyone can tell me how to do it fast and easy, I will be happy, because whichever company which I contacted, they just gave me a hard time. So Abi is my colleague and my friend, and we wrote this book together, and we want to put it on a digital format.
Paul Andrew Smith, you did this. Tell us how you can do it for Guy.
Okay, I'll appreciate it.
Anything you want to talk about in the book?
No, I think Krav-Maga, one of its characteristics, it's a unique teaching method. And you must understand that what they needed to do in a very short time is teach people how to defend themselves. So they had to find a very good teaching method. And in the literature, you can find arguments between people who said that the breakdown method is good and other people who said that the whole method, like teaching all the techniques as one, is better. And eventually Krav-Maga and Kapap and these drills are taught in the breakdown method, which we think until today is the best way to learn something fast, if you do it correct. And you can't find it, and I'm trying to be here academic. Very seldom you can see the breakdown method in traditional martial arts. Most of them use the copy method. So where the instructor or the sifu or the master or sensei is just doing the techniques, he explains them, and the students are trying to imitate him. While anyone who did a course with us or with Ernie or Tom or the other guys, they know what is actually the breakdown method and what are the tools that we give to instructors to teach better. It's much more than imitation.
Yeah, I remember doing Aikido and Judo. It was very much just imitate. I had so much trouble with anything.
Yeah.
It's funny now that everyone has gone to the virtual learning here because all of our schools are closed, that they're finding how difficult the imitation method is, because they'll do the Krav technique and the students will, you can just see the confusion on their face. It's the sides are mirrored, so people get confused. Is it my left? Is it my right? Which way do I turn? So I think now more than ever, the breakdown method is the best way to teach in general, just because that's because of the medium through which we're teaching. You have to take it down into steps and be very literal with what has to happen in what order to accomplish the technique as a whole.
Yeah, like I think that the imitation method, if you're talking about martial art, which the scope in training martial arts is the way and not the outcome and not the results, so it's okay. You're not in a hurry. Like you can train in karate or whatever for 10 or 20 years, and it doesn't matter if you reach somewhere there. But when you're talking more on reality-based fighting, that you need outcomes fast, so you have to use the breakdown teaching method. Otherwise, it will take you ages to learn something.
I agree with that. I did want to talk to you a little bit about, so if anyone knows the story, I first met Guy Mor when I received a ticket in Israel. I was not the one driving. I was one of 3 passengers in a taxi, but I got the ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. None of us were. it's all a funny story, but Guy took care of it for me. He helped me out, and we would correspond and talk. And we started talking about really Moshi and Judo and the Judo dynamic of Krav-Maga. But, you know, Guy's classes at Wingate, I always enjoyed. They were fabulous. And training with you, even when we brought you to the U.S., your training method was, you know, Anne's a little bit of a training snob. And she it's true. So true. And she was blown away.
Trust but verify.
Yeah. So, do you have any interesting stories from teaching at Wingate?
Wingate is one of the most fabulous places for athletes in Israel. Now, I want to say that I was teaching at Wingate in about 1995, and then I stopped for several years, and then I came back there. I think it was 2006 or something like that, or a little bit later, 2010. And then I was sure that I know how to teach because I already taught instructors and coaching courses in Israel, in other institutions, and abroad as well. And then I came to Wingate and I met Abi Moria, and I hope he listens. And I saw that I don't know as much as I thought.
He's like a human encyclopedia.
Yeah, so it's very, good that you have people that you can learn from. And the thing which was good for me at Wingate is that we were a team, and the same team continues to work with me today. But you have like Idan, and you have Abi, and you have Ilan, and you have David, and you have lots of guys. Whenever you're working together with professionals, so you can progress all the time because you have problems and you have guys that you consult with and you can solve them. So I think that this is actually was very symbiotic because all of us together really improved our teaching abilities just from the fact that we work together.
The thing I loved about the groups you would bring in, the instructors, they didn't always agree on techniques, but they always agreed on principles. And I love that you know, people are teaching what works for them. And it's not, it has to be this way. It has to be that way. And to me, that was very cool. I know people would get test anxiety of, well, which way should I do it? Which way should I do it? And I go, who's grading the test? There you go. Think tactically here. But it was, I like that part of it, where people would teach differently. And I was very impressed with that. I talk about a story with you. I do this to students sometimes, not as bad as what you did. It was when Tom and I were doing our coaching course, I think. And I was wearing a Krav-Maga shirt with a star on it. And we had to teach a group of Israeli police, military, I don't know what they were, but there were all these individuals just staring at us, mean mugging us, as we say in the US, you know, the look. And right before I went to teach, you were like, very brave of you. We used to have to wear a star also, but ours was yellow. I'm like, what? No, what? And you're like, go teach. And as it is, I hate public speaking. I hate teaching. I have a hard time. I've got to get into it. And poor Tom. I hit Tom so much during that demo. And it really helped get it. But that anxiety, that fear, that stress was amazing. Like just right in the moment. Thank you. I work to as much as my people as possible.
What I wanted to say now, because something you brought up before is that people are too focused on techniques. And this is something that I always try to, I don't know if this is the right phrase, like to overcome, because you should not focus on the technique. You should focus on the principle. And whenever people are saying, okay, but if I should do it this way or that way, and what if, you remember like the what if. So the what if is a very important question, but it should be directed to the principle and not to the technique.
Yes.
Like, I say we because it's me and some other friends. We feel that some people are trying to learn as much techniques as they can learn, when actually all they need is one technique. Okay, I'm doing only one technique against a gun threat, and I'm doing only one technique against a knife attack, and I'm trying to limit the techniques that I know to few as possible. Because when you have too much options, your reaction time slows down. And this is scientific. It calls the Hicks law. So just check it. Like in every sport, in every, combat discipline, if you have more than one option, you have to figure out which option to take. It may take only a split of a second, but this split of a second might be the difference between life or death. So the problem is that good instructors can teach very few techniques for many years because they are good instructors. So they can give the same benefit without the students feel that they are bored.
Yes.
And people who are not good instructors, they need to teach many techniques so their student won't feel that they're actually doing the same all the time.
It's very true. Very true. Some people are just technique collectors.
Yeah.
Show me another one. Show me another one. Show me another one. And it's like when I teach our talk, I do mindset, then tactics, then principles. Like good tactics. If I don't have to fight you in a fair fight, even better. As opposed to here are 8 different headlock techniques. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Moshe Feldenkrais talked about attaché, and he said that this is the ultimate drill for him. I was teaching a seminar in Barcelona, I think 2 months ago, just before the Corona. I went out from there about 2 weeks before the big mess over there. And I taught in the seminar like how you use attaché almost for any possible attack. And again, this is like Feldenkrais' heritage, because he said that this is like the ultimate drill for overcoming a fight. It's not easy getting there. Mm-hmm. It takes some practice. But also David Arame is working on the same concept of position, that the main thing in combat is position. How do you position yourself in regarding to your opponent or opponents, if there are a few?
It's very important. And, the move that Feldenkrais was doing, we teach that to pre-deployment for military, both offensively and defensively, quite a bit. Because it's a way to restrain someone, but it's also a way to end the threat. So
David always says, like in in business they say location. Mm-hmm. So it's the same in combat, position. So it's actually the same.
Oh, not like him in that position. None of
what?
I wouldn't like David getting me in that position. No.
Yeah. You wouldn't do that.
No.
No. We have a jiu-jitsu instructor who works with us as well. Jerry Smith, he's watching now, but he teaches jiu-jitsu in that same idea. It's a position battle. Once you've gotten the position, then submissions, no big deal.
Are there?
It's to get to the position and maintain that position, the fundamentals. And I like that as a school and as a community, we're so focused on the fundamentals of things. It makes me proud to teach. So it's good things that goes through Krav, Jiu-Jitsu, probably Muay Thai.
Yeah, nice. I think BJJ is emphasizing a lot the position, and this is the way it should be. And again, the emphasis is not on how many techniques you know, but the one you know, just do them good, and all the rest are variations.
It's funny because a really good judo player may use the same 2 throws to win a lot of tournaments, but it's how they set it up, how they get you to be where they want you to throw you. And you watch things like that and it's amazing. Because it's all about the setup and the positioning, not about knowing 80 different throws. Pulling them off in a competition is quite difficult for some people. I do want to ask you, because I was reading it in your book about your dad and some of the stories you had about your dad. If you wouldn't mind sharing with us.
Yeah. My dad was born in 1930, and Israel was founded in 1948. So actually my father lived through a very hectic period of time with lots of wars and battles and fighting. And actually when he was 17, he already was in the army. I was asking him a lot about his training when he was a boy. And he said that when they learned Kapap, they didn't learn it as one discipline. He said that every week some other instructor came. So one week was a judo instructor, the next week was a boxing instructor, a week after was short stick, and then maybe a week after long stick. So they were trained like very random, and there wasn't actually any incorporation of all these techniques, which is interesting. And he said that they learned it the hard way. Like they got lots of bruises and lots of stick hits on their hands, and they had to cope with it. He showed me some maneuvers, and it's funny, like when he was 70 or something like that, he still remembered them. And this again goes to Feldenkrais, that like he had the techniques right in his body and his brain, and he just did them, very spontaneously. So it was very interesting to see it after so many years that he didn't train.
This is for me.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking notes, sorry.
Okay.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your experiences as a coach and a martial artist, because I know you fought full contact. I know you trained some full contact fighters. And it's awesome. The really cool thing is, I was talking to a friend, BK. He's Israeli, and he was, his instructors were Guy Raphael, Guy Skornick, Itai Gill, and he was talking about it, and I was like, oh, Guy Mor introduced me to all these people too. Drove me to his school. It's such like a rich history, not just a rich history, but so many layers that are interconnected. It's interesting. And I always liked hearing stories about your fighting and your coaching. So I'm going to put you on the spot again. Welcome, fight story.
When I started to coach, I was at the same time a student at Wingate Institute. And I just wanted to take the theory and put it into practice in my club. So I was learning coaching sciences. And luckily for me, I had really good lecturers at Wingate. And I really learned there a lot. So I used the information I got there as a coach and as an athlete. I had a professor from Wingate, which she was actually helping me with my own training discipline, like program, sorry. So I was, as an athlete, I was very supported because I had my own nutrition and my own psychology and my own fitness coach and strategic coach. And when you are an athlete and you have these guys that are in your corner, so they can bring you to the competition really in top shape. And whenever I competed, I always felt, even when I lost, that I did the best I can. And this is something which also I said to my students, it doesn't matter how good you are, there'll always be somewhere there which is better than you. And if you lose and you know that you did the best you can, that's okay. But if you lose and you feel that you could give something more, like an extra 3%, 5%, or you didn't do enough in your training, so that's the point that you are feeling bad about yourself. So luckily for me, in most competitions, I felt good, even though, I lost some of them. And I try to do the same with my students. And with my students, the experience was better. And some of my students took a European championship in various disciplines, lots of Israeli champions, but this is, we're a small nation, so it's not that complicated. And even some guys fought in United States in Thai boxing and stuff, and got good results, not prime results, but quite good results.
Did you have something? You're also a guest lecturer, besides doing seminars in Barcelona. You guest lecture in China.
Yeah. Before.
Where else have you been a lecturer?
Okay, so first it's interesting because in China I teach in Shanghai University of Sports in their Wushu college, which is like their college for martial arts. And it's very interesting because, the Chinese are very good in Wushu or Kung Fu. They don't need me to teach them how to train. But again, due to the teaching methods, which are quite different than what accustomed there, so they are very happy whenever I come there because their teaching methods are completely different. I give seminars all over. Whenever I'm giving a seminar, I'm trying to think outside of the box. Like, I never teach technique. So if someone comes and tell me, can you come and teach us how to do a gun disarm or techniques against a knife? So I would say no, because you don't need me for that. There are plenty of good instructors that can teach technique. I'm always trying to give some added value, which has some connection to my profession of physical education. So how do you improve your speed or your agility or reaction time? and how can you become a better fighter or combatant, or things that you can do directed to combat, to self-defense, to Krav-Maga. How can you become better in those things that you do? This is my main focus when I teach.
I've been through a lot of some of your courses. They're always quite interesting. When you were making us work with the balloons in the gym or run down the hill on the beach at times. But like, I've trained with some crazy people. And sometimes crazy training. But everything that you did, you would explain, this is why we're doing it. This is the purpose. Scientifically, this is the reason we're doing this, or you do this, and then you stop. And then you rest, and you do it again. And you explained everything quite well. So it was fun. Some of it was quite difficult, but it was always a learning. There's always a teacher-student aspect to it, academically. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. I was teaching in Lisbon with Sergio, which is a very good friend and a colleague. And before what?
Sergio?
Yeah, Sergio.
He's
Sergio Pereira.
Yeah.
And he was a bit anxious before I came, because first of all, there's language barrier, because some of the students doesn't speak English. And usually people that come there always teach techniques. And he was a little bit concerned that they wouldn't comprehend the academic aspect of the seminar. But always the idea is how you combine the academic knowledge with practical knowledge, and eventually people who are participating in the seminar have to smile. So if I go to a seminar and people are not smiling and are not laughing, so I know that something is wrong, really, because they must have fun. And even in China, that I don't speak Chinese and I had a translator, when you see the guys they're training and you see them laughing, so you know that you're doing something probably good. This is my objective whenever I go to teach.
I agree with that. I try to get people laughing too, and get them loosen up. Talking about Sergio. Sergio is a beast with great technique, and he's so quiet, and then he springs into action. You're like, damn, yeah. I'm sad that we had to postpone our trip to Israel in May, but we will reschedule it. I know Sergio, he just said great seminar in Lisbon, by the way. He just texted.
Yeah.
But, I met some really good friends in Israel, people from different organizations, and we became quite friendly. I still talk to most of them today. They're good people. There weren't many people that were like, my technique or my system's better than yours. We all sweat, we all smiled, we bled maybe a little bit, but it was good training, and it was connecting with different people, opening up your mind when you train.
Yeah.
You have
Sergio, and you have Jose, and you have Adrian, and all the guys from America. I couldn't name everyone, but Gani, hi, how are you? Which are people who come with an open mind and small ego. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the main idea if you want to learn something. I learned so much this last few trips from Jose and from Sergio, because we do things together. Whenever I'm teaching with them. So you can see lots of things, and even things from like Jose students. Like I give an idea, and then I let them go over it. And then whenever you see something good, you just stop and you say, "Hey guys, look what they did." And then this is like the wisdom of the crowd, because if you have in a seminar like 50 guys, and 50 guys are thinking, so you get much more output than if only I will come and teach something. And again, this is something that we're trying to do. And luckily for me, you know the guys like Ernie and Tom and Scott and all the guys, and Sergio and Jose and Adrian, so and Joe in England. So there are guys who think, and the guys which have no big egos, and they're always willing to learn something new and show, and like it's real fun.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm really sad we had to miss this year, but we're trying to set something up before next May, because the lineup of instructors you had too was quite impressive. I mean, it was. We were looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but flights now are really cheap. But I don't think you can find any flights, unless it's cargo. In Israel, there's a shortage. In Israel, there's a shortage of eggs. So now they're importing eggs from Europe. So they might import eggs from America, and you can hop on a plane and just come over.
I brought the eggs.
She would do it in a heartbeat. She loved Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the restaurant is waiting for you. It's closed now, but they're doing takeaway, so it's okay.
Same here, yes. We were talking about you. Who are we talking about with Guy? That we spent our wedding night with Guy Mor.
Yeah.
Like not like that, but we went out. We went out with you to a restaurant the day we originally eloped, and we climbed Masada and got married by Tom Whitaker at sunrise, and then we met up with you later in the day in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, for dinner. Yeah.
That was
I still remember how Anne was crazy with me in the supermarket, right? And driving those carts, you were crazy.
I tell that story. Well, I do a couple lectures on situational awareness, and I tell the story of that because we were in Tennessee, and I think it might have been the first time you were actually in a Walmart, because Walmarts are pretty interesting, and so I couldn't believe it because you're such a stoic person, very academic and straight faced, and you're like pushing the cart around Walmart, like, look at everything. It was fun. But I don't usually talk about that part. But I don't know if you remember this or not. When we were waiting for the Uber to come and take us back to the hotel, we were outside. I was on my phone looking up how to get you a new phone from Amazon. So I wasn't paying attention to anything around me. And out of the corner of my eye, I noticed you go from a very relaxed posture to a very straight up and following intently with your eyes. And I was like, oh shit, things are get real. What's going on here? And a guy had walked behind us to put his cigarette into an ashtray. And I looked at you and I looked at the guy and I was like, what's the matter? And you said, that's odd behavior, isn't it? And I said, what do you mean? Americans will just flick their cigarettes. Why would he walk behind us to put his cigarette in an ashtray? And I use that when I teach women about situational awareness. It's like you don't have to, if something seems off to you, if something is out of the ordinary, you need to pay attention to it, not, just close your eyes to it and try not to be judgmental. You felt that something was inappropriate about that guy's behavior, and you made it known that you saw it. And so I talk about you a lot.
She sometimes does an Israeli accent, which
never. I can't do accents, but I do. I stand up and I walk, and I get in that relaxed posture that you have, and then I'll never forget that out of the corner of my eye. You grew from I don't know, are you 6 foot something? I feel like you're 10 foot tall. I was like, watch out now. So, but that was fun. I'm not very good at small talk, and I had to go from the airport in Newark, and that was a 2-hour drive to Pennsylvania. Remember that too? And you got into the car, and Ernie had said something to you because you're like, "Don't worry, I won't talk." So we ended up talking the whole time. So
yeah,
I love you, Guy.
I just warned them.
When I finished my army service in Israel, so my instructor, his name was Mati Koronyo, and actually he was the instructor which really gave me a boost. And he said, "Okay, Guy, now you have to go and train abroad." And I told him, "Why? You are here. I don't want to train anywhere else." And he said, "No, you have to go and train abroad." He gave me some addresses in Europe that I need to go and train there. And what he told me before I went, like, a guy just finished the army. I didn't have lots of experience of traveling around the world or stuff. And he said, "Guys, I'm going to give you 2 ground rules. One, when you're going around the corner, don't go near the corner, like make a big circle so you will see if no one is waiting for you behind the corner." Luckily, I did it, and in France, in some corners, one was waiting there. But because I did like the big round, there wasn't any effect of surprise. So this was one rule. And the other rule, he says, there's the underground stations and the trains. Never stand near the rails. Always stand in the back. And I think these are 2 very good tips for awareness in your surroundings. And even though it was like, I think over 30 years ago, I still take them with me wherever I go. And I taught my kids, and I think it's good ground rules.
Great ground rules. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about, whether it's history or training at all?
I just want to say that we are all fighters, martial artists, and now it's like a very strange time because of all this, Corona, and there's lots of debates about it, what to do, if to do, and whatever. But I think what we should do is focus on how we improve our abilities in this time. So first of all, of course, we have the business and we have to take care of it, which is Zoom training or whatever we can do, because this is something that we have to do. But also we have more time now to do something for ourselves. So how can we upgrade ourselves in these times? So there are lots of lectures and courses and training. Like this time for me, I don't want to say it's a bless, but I can train much more than I had time before. So like I can train more. I know Abi, I talked to him the other day, and he said that last day he was training like 3 times a day. So I think that whoever listen to us now, take this time to improve yourself. Doesn't matter if it's academic or professional or physical, but you can use this time, even though it's a hard time, you can use it to upgrade yourself. So do it.
So we've been doing a lot of academic stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, any advice to instructors?
Learn all the time. I have in my gym an instructor who is a physical education teacher, and he has nothing to do with martial arts. His name is Amir, and sometimes I go to him and I say, hey, Amir, I need a drill, just like that, and he gives me drills. So it can be something very easy for kids or cones or whatever. But because he has different background and different education, this is what he's doing. So it's things that I would never get otherwise. So you go to people from basketball, for baseball, from rugby, football, whatever, and you say, give me a drill. Just give me a drill. And then you will know how to integrate it in your combat discipline or martial arts or your own training. Just make some adjustments, if any, and you can use it. And this is a great way to improve your toolkit as instructors.
Yeah, I've done that already. There's a gentleman who I follow on Facebook who's a trainer for a lot of the high school sports teams in the local area. And instead of using a medicine ball, he said to grab a towel. And if you grab the towel by the end and kind of like throw it back and forth, you get that resistance that you could do, that you would have with a medicine ball. I didn't understand that translation, but as soon as I saw that, and I'm like, oh, hammer fist. So that's what I taught the little kids, and I ended up saying it to the adults as well, just to have that, to get the body sponsorship behind throwing your hammer fists, have a little like a drag suit.
Yeah. Great idea. Yeah.
It's really interesting what you can share as a community, and everyone is in that mindset right now. So the egos are at bay, and everyone's ready to share. So I think this is the best time to do it. Yeah,
I agree.
That's all I have, unless you want to share anything else with us, guys.
No, it was a pleasure, and thank you very much for hosting me. And I hope that things will come down quite soon all over the world, and we can go back to our normal life. And I wish everyone will be safe and healthy.
Thank you, Guy. You too.
I hope to be seeing you soon. Thank you, Guy.
Me too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh,
I miss Guy Mor.
I miss Guy Mor too.